My granddad was diagnosed with Parkinson's and then Alzheimer's approximately 4 years prior to his passing at 78 years old. For the year prior, he lost his ability to walk, use his arms and talk, acknowledge those around him, and respond to his environment. Basically, his soul was trapped inside his body, watching us but unable to speak. My grandmother became his sole carer. They set up a harness system in the home to move him from room to room for showering, toilet, bed, and lounge room time. She would bathe him, feed him, and anything else he needed. She vowed to be by his side until he died. They shared a bed their entire life, and that never changed, even when he was sick. One night, prior to his passing, something eerie happened. My grandma was doing her usual routine of reading a newspaper to my granddad, as it was his favorite thing to do. Out of nowhere, my grandma was overcome with this eerie feeling. She wasn't sure what it was. A few minutes later, my granddad spoke. He turned his head, looked at her and said, "I love you, Shirley." In disbelief, my grandma said, Ken, what did you say?" That was all. He then stopped eating, refused food, and died within a week in his favorite armchair. He never visually recognized anyone during his last year, so for him to look at my grandma and also speak was a miracle. I believe his internal spirit was able to overpower the disease to communicate one last time before passing. So last night, I went to bed around 1 a.m. As I was drifting into sleep, I started seeing this being lying in front of me. I clearly saw a misty white face. I couldn't recognize who it was. It then began sucking my essence out. I don't know how to describe it. It siphoned this white, snow-like material out of me. I saw and physically felt it flowing from within me outside of my mouth, and it was drinking it. I suddenly jolted awake from the almost sleep state, and it was still there. I still saw and physically felt my energy being drained. A few seconds into me being awake, it phased and had this facial expression as if it were suddenly panicked because I could see it. Whatever it was stopped, and it disappeared. I feel very drained today, like my body is missing something. I feel lighter, weaker, and emptier. I don't know how to describe it, but it's weird. It didn't feel hostile. It felt like it didn't want me to know it was there, and doing what it was doing. Has anyone experienced anything like this? When I was a toddler, just a couple of years old, I had this recurring thing that would happen, which I can't explain. When I was lying in bed, I would see, from above me, a silver, liquid cylindrical column appear, coming out of the ceiling of my bedroom, and going straight into my body. The liquid was smooth and flawless, but every so often would turn chaotic and swirl in all directions before going perfect again. This would happen a few times over, until I went to sleep, where I would experience vividly walking through a glass tunnel in space, my hands being held by two friendly-looking alien-type beings. They never hurt me as far as I can remember, but this went on at least twice a week for years. While the column was visible, I felt extremely sick and dizzy. I'm now in my 50s, and this was happening in the early 1970s. Anyone else experience anything similar? My boyfriend in college lived way out in the country. One night, around 1 a.m., we were walking along a dirt road between two fields, owned by a neighboring farmer. We see this bobbing light ahead, coming toward us down the road. We froze, thinking we were about to get busted for being on private property. It looked like a lantern, bobbing at the pace of someone walking. But as it got closer, it sped up, as though the person were running unnaturally fast. We turned to run, and heard a chorus of unintelligible laughter and murmuring that was distinctly not human. We both remember feeling like our bodies weighed 1,000,000 pounds, like trying to run in a dream. Then, the voices stopped abruptly, all was quiet, and we ran back to his house. Neither of us remember what happened after. My next memory is being at home, with no recollection of how I got there. The weirdest of all is we just stopped talking for months. No animosity, no breakup. It was just over, and we had been very much in love. We reconnected later, and our memories and lost time match up perfectly. When I was like 18 or 19, somewhere in that ballpark, I was still living with my mom. I built this little bedroom in the basement, so I'd be out the way while I searched for my own place. I'm willing to wager it was about the size of a college dorm, so it was modest. It was right next to the stairs, opposite of the laundry area. It was simple and made with plywood and cheap pine frames. I digress. One night, I went to go upstairs and use the restroom, and I felt something odd on the far side of the basement. It was almost as if I was being watched. I figured I was just being paranoid. I used to do a lot of shrooms back then, so I ignored it at first and headed upstairs to do my business. Now mind you, I had been completely sober. When I returned, I had the same feeling as before, like I was being watched. I looked up after coming back down, and that's when I saw it. There was this huge fucking eye on the back wall, but it wasn't a normal eye. The cornea was glowing a rich crimson. The iris was a bright glowing golden spiral, and it was surrounded by these blue and black slithering tentacles. I stared for a few moments before it receded into the concrete and disappeared without a trace. I had never seen anything like this and haven't seen anything since. I've heard about evil eyes before, and I think that's what it might be. Was it real? I don't know. Was it my imagination playing tricks on me? I don't know. It was definitely a surreal experience regardless. When I was 18, back in 2005, my mom was giving me a ride to work. My car had been impounded for something stupid, and I had to wait 30 days to get it back. In the meantime, my mom was giving me rides to work. On Saturdays, I worked morning shift, so I had to be at work by 5 a.m. This means we had to leave the house no later than 4:30. It was still dark outside, like pitch black, and very cold. And that morning, as my mom was driving, off in the distance, I could see a figure getting ready to cross the road, basically jaywalk in front of us. As we got closer, I could see it was a young girl. It looked like she didn't have any shoes on. A long white tee, like if she was wearing a man's white t-shirt. It was big on her. It looked like she had no pants on, but you could just barely see that she had these short jean shorts under the large shirt. Like the kind that used to be pants, but she cut them off herself. And like I said, she wasn't wearing shoes. My mom started talking shit, like, what kind of girl walks around the streets at this hour dressed like that? The girl was now walking in the middle of the street, extremely slow, to the point that my mom had to stop about 10 feet away from her, because now she was blocking us. And when my mom stopped, the girl came to a complete stop. But she wasn't facing us. She was facing the direction she was crossing, which was from my right to left. As we had gotten closer, I could see that her skin appeared to be bluish gray, and her hair was jet black. It looked wet and tangled, like she had just gotten out of the shower. My mom was about to honk at her when she slowly turns her head and looks right at us. Her hair was covering her face. She looked kinda like the girl from The Ring. And then, this part, I'll never forget. She slowly brushed the hair from her face, and she didn't have one. It was just all smooth, like Slenderman. No eyes, no mouth, and no nose. It just looked smooth. My mom started to have a panic attack. I literally felt my heart drop. I was now focused on calming my mom down. The girl looked at us for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then she took off running. It didn't move at irregular speeds or anything, just like regular running. I've never seen anything like that in my life. To this day, my mom and I can't explain what that was. I guess I'm sharing my story in hopes that maybe someone else has seen something similar. Something without a face.